September 27th. We have I guess I'd say a light agenda tonight, 75-page packet, 9 items, 5 on unfinished business and 4 on new business. So seeing all of our members here present, I'll call a quorum, declare a quorum present, and if there's no objections, we'll set the agenda as published. All right, hearing none, I'll recognize our Chief of Police, Chief Hambrick. If you would lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, sir.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, your word declares this is a day that you've made and taught us to rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, we're going to be glad, Lord, and we're grateful. Lord, at this hour, Lord, in our world, we know that everything is not good, but your word declares that you work together for good of all those that love you and are called according to your purpose. So we thank you. Lord, we thank you for our ability to be here tonight. Lord, we ask for wisdom, Lord, and for your grace and mercy to be extended. Lord, that you would give just clarity in mind and hearts of everything that's said and done in this meeting tonight. Lord, we pray for our elected officials, Lord, our city staff, Lord, our residents, and even our visitors that come to our great city. And Lord, we just give you the praise, the glory, and honor. Lord, we want to do what's pleasing in your sight. And Lord, we just thank you for blessing this city, blessing us as individuals and as a community. And Lord, we just give of ourselves as instruments to be used of you. And we just pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Hambrick. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Without objection, we'll adopt the minutes as published. Next item on the agenda is citizen comments. If you would like to address the Board of Commissioners, you'll have 3 minutes to address the Board of Commissioners with your comments. We will not be able to answer questions from the table. Please address the board as a whole, and this will be probably your only chance to address the commission tonight. So I'll just ask you for your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. All right, seeing none, we will close citizen comments and move to commissioner comments and reports. I recognize Vice Mayor in District 1, Commissioner Ray Justice.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. It's a light agenda. The Cowboys are playing the Phillies, so it's a very important game tonight, Monday Night Football. I'm one of those people that likes the social media. I enjoy some of it. Some of it is disgusting and makes me want to commit illegal activities against the people posting it. But every now and then there's some really cool stuff that comes up. And there was a gentleman from over in Brandywine Farms over here in Davidson County, and I asked his permission to read this. His name is Davian Edwards. And I saw this today, and I thought, there's so much difference in the people that are moving here, the people from the north versus the people from the south. And I thought this just summed up a lot of the southern way of living. I thought it was so neat. It was so cool. So, Mayor, with your permission, I'm going to read this. And it's labeled, it is headed as on the 7th day he rested. It says, I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, the son of a Baptist minister. My mom and daddy were both even further, or my daddy both were from even further down I-65, from down in that part of the country where church meant all things to all people, and to some a little bit more. In my father's case, leaving his hometown for Huntsville was akin to leaving Nashville for Chicago. But to paraphrase an old saying, you can take the boy out of the church, but you can't take the church out of the boy. Prior to my birth, my parents had become devout members of a Southern Baptist church in Huntsville. And so to say I went to church a lot in my youth is carelessness bordering on irresponsibility. I went to church so much I thought that Glory Hallelujah was the name of a Baptist saint. While I carry countless lessons from these days, one of the most firm impressions for me personally is the importance, the dang near sanctity of a Sunday. Today, I'm not the church-going lad I once was. Some of the more faithful might refer to me as a born hero, one who attends on the day he was born and the day he rose. But before I'm chastised too much for my backsliding ways, let me say a piece. Sunday to me is all about recentering oneself for the week ahead. Saturday was the day of reflection, of letting go of the week that was. Today is renewal and readiness. An early morning in a quiet corner of the home is a private church service where one's thoughts run the grassy fields in the mind like so many children just let out of Sunday school. A friend in a deer stand this morning told me of the sunrise service he'd just attended, where he'd watched the incredible transformation of the world from shades of gray to muted colors to full-blown 1080p HD in a matter of minutes. He's lived the experience countless times, and yet it never grows old. Sunday is also about reconnecting. The family I've ran for and with and past the previous week, this morning we'll all sit, all of us, and enjoy a breakfast together. Maybe later on a movie. Could be that we'll run out somewhere together and catch up with some others, celebrate a birthday, or just the fact that we're all here. Maybe I'll take the four-legged member of the family to the park where he can run around with other four-legged members of other families. Maybe it'll just be the group text thread that's only active Sunday from noon to 6. An online gathering, if you will, with others who share the faith. We'll shout and stamp our feet and curse the devil, get wrapped up in the fervor, and undoubtedly pray. Tell me that ain't church by another name. Sunday is about communion. Back in Alabama on certain days, on certain Sundays, there would be a meal in the fellowship hall. Anyone reading this from the South, black or white, who has experience with a country church fellowship hall, can we get an amen? To this day, they say Sunday dinner, and I'm going to think you mean perfectly seasoned fried chicken, pillow soft, real mashed potatoes, savory brown gravy someone made with giblets, green beans, sprinkled with bits of ham that came off the hock, and biscuits. It tastes like butter in heaven. There's honey and strawberry jam for those biscuits, but you'll need another because the first one you just used to sop up that gravy. Your aunt from up north won't drink the tea because she says it's too sweet. It tastes like syrup. And is asking your mama what the heck is a giblet. But she certainly ate that huge slice of chocolate cake at the end, didn't she? Any meal on Sunday is special to me today because of that past, and whether it's ribeye off at the grill, pizza and hot dogs at the park, or traditional Southern fare with all the fixings, of communing together with loved ones makes that food blessed. As a child, Sunday was the longest day of the week. On a regular one Sunday school starting at 9 a.m. and the service immediately after could go into 1. And if it was a program Sunday, of which it seemed our church averaged about 2 of those a month, there would be a return trip in the evening. Now at 44 Sunday is the fastest day, and now at 44 Sunday is the fastest day of a week of very, very fast days. So before I take up any more of your time, I wish you a happy one, to recenter, to reconnect, and to commune, and leave you to it. Probably the best description of our life in the South growing up in Mount Juliet and in the South, in Tennessee. So when I get on social media and I see the people from another city or another part of the country, and they're talking about how we walk too slow and we talk too slow and we don't do things the way they're doing things, that kind of a post coming from that gentleman sets me back to where I was when I was a kid and where I grew up in Mount Juliet. It's what we up here try to do pretty much every single day. Every one of us 5 sitting up here trying to make this place better and make it home. So think about that, please. Think about what Sundays are like and what it means to you. That's God's day. Although every day should be, shouldn't it, Pastor James? Thank you all for being here tonight, and look forward to a quick meeting. Get out here for the Monday Night Football.
All right, at this point, I recognize District 2 Commissioner Trevette.
Hey, thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm a little hungry now. I'll tell you that. That was a great message, by the way. Am I on? Okay. There we go. Is that better? Okay, so thank you. All right. Well, thank everybody here for coming out tonight. I want to share something. If our technical gentleman back there could share something for me, Mr. Travis. Thank you, sir. I just want to send out a great time that I had. I've got a picture up here for the folks that can't see it. for our mayor and vice mayor. And of course, I was able to sit in there and jump in. And I'll tell you, Mount Juliet has split, obviously, over the last couple of years from Mount Juliet to Green Hills now. And my family and I were over at the Green Hills side. But I'll tell you, just to see the camaraderie that is out here as our students are getting back to what we consider is the normal. So for the folks that can't see this, it's just our mayor, vice mayor, and myself was able to get a picture of the mascot, the Hawk for the Green Hills, which they won on Friday night, 56-27. Great job to that team, and also to the band on the away team, and also our Green Hills team out there for the band. So thank you, Travis, for sharing that. Also, was able to sit in on Chandler Point's annual meeting this week. So thank you to that board out there. I've got some line items that I'm working with some of our city officials to get you back some responses on some property. I also want to thank our city manager. He was able to sit in to also another community in my district, Willoughby Station. They had their annual meeting, and our city manager was able to fulfill that, as I was had the honor to walk down my 7-year-old daughter, middle schooler, of course, down for homecoming. She was nominated. So that was an honor there as a father. So I'm sorry to Willoughby Station. I did not make it, but of course we sent our city's finest. One thing I did learn after this past week, I knew there was our city has changed over the last couple months with the new system, with the Mount Juliet alert. So for any families out there, I have posted it up there, but the Mount Juliet alert, just text 67283. I'll tell you, I love that new system. It actually has saved the battery on my phone, and at the same time, it's great alerts. The last thing is really touching a little bit for me, folks. I've talked about this, which for the folks that do know me, I'm all about safety. Safety is always first. When it comes to supporting our first responders in this city, I'm very passionate about that. And this past week, we've had an accident of, unfortunately, some students that were hitting over 100 miles an hour within our city. And I'll tell you, folks, I mean, as a father that has a new driver on the road, 16 years old, and at first I thought getting her a Jeep was the craziest thing in the world. But a Jeep, I'll tell you, they don't go fast, but at the same time, it's still a vehicle. So I just ask that, as a parent from another parent, just remind our kids every time they go out, just think about what they could affect. They're driving a 2,000 to 4,000 pound vehicle, and they can destroy somebody else's family or destroy their own. So just take that in consideration. I think we all need to kind of get back to the basics when it's, just talking to our kids, our grandkids, our nieces and nephews. I'm the oldest grandchild out of 38, so I'm always talking to my nieces and nephews about safety. So, Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up is District 3 Commissioner, Commissioner Hefner.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Do want to reiterate a couple of things. It's been an active couple of weeks. Car fires, shootings, car accidents, car racers, and thankfully nobody was killed in any of it. Not that I'm aware of. So it is important. I was getting a lot of text messages on the shooting from my constituents, because it did happen in my district. And I can't reiterate the alert system, and that's text MJ to 67283. Also, if you want blasting notifications, text blast to the same number, 67283. Also want to give a shout out this fall, so football season. Titans are starting off on a winning season. And also congratulations to the U.S. Ryder Cup team for bringing the Ryder Cup home to the U.S. soil. So one last thing, we've got RM8 workshop coming up. Sheila hopefully can confirm here in the next day or so whether that's going to make the October meeting, the last October meeting, or the first BOC meeting in November. So be on the lookout for that public notification to go out to confirm that meeting date. So thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Up next is Commissioner District 4, Commissioner Jennifer Malay.
Okay, a couple of things. Unfortunately, the BPAC event, the walk, run, roll event at Mundy Park, not yesterday, but a week ago yesterday, was rained out. So we had to cancel that. We also had scheduled the ribbon cutting for the Belinda Parkway sidewalks right before that event. And the reason was BPAC is the one who initially applied for the grant. So anyway, both of those were rained out. We meet tomorrow night and we'll discuss whether to, try again for the walk, run, and roll event. This was the 8th annual. Normally BPAC events don't get rescheduled, but we are going to talk about it, and then we'll decide when the ribbon cutting is. So I'll send out notices on those. I'm working on my September newsletter. I hope to send that out on Friday. If you're not signed up by email, please go to my website, jennifermalay.com. All you got to do is enter your name and email. I plan to have a town hall meeting. And I'm going to have an engineer and a developer there probably in November. First part, hopefully in November. And it's about some developments coming to District 4 and some potential ones, which hasn't actually been submitted yet. But anyway, just a kind of a future vision and where I think is going to be the next build out. So I hope to have that town hall sometime in November. I've got the place already reserved. I'm just waiting for the date. There's 4 districts in Mount Juliet, as each one of us represent. Every time the census is done, every 10 years, for the most part, redistricting is always done. So we have redistricting workshops scheduled on October 11th at 5:15 to talk about, because I've got like 12,000 plus in my district, and the rest of them are 7, 8, 9,000. So just to kind of even it out. And then we're waiting on some maps as a suggestion coming from the city. So we're going to meet on October 11th at 5:15. If we don't get done, the next Monday on the 18th, another one will be scheduled at 5:30 on that Monday. The bathrooms facility across from Amazon are open, but and I've had some people call me that have stopped by there and they're closed. So I found out that Amazon actually has not turned over the keys to the city yet, but it could be any day, according to Rocky. And I hope to have that. I hope that happens before I send out my newsletter, so I can have that in the newsletter. But once they turn the keys over, the times for that facility will be 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So again, it should be any day. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from our city manager. Recognized for 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. And I promise this time not to take as much time as I took the last time, so we'll make it a lot shorter. But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, for those watching at home that can't be here, and for everything that everybody does to make Mount Juliet such an awesome place. I also want to thank the citizens, those that patronize our community, and also our elected body, because Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, without your support of staff and the tools that we've got, I think of multiple things that happened just last week, as the commissioners were talking about the shooting and the drag racing that come out of Nashville, 100-mile-an-hour, and struck 2 other automobiles and flipped those vehicles over. Every tool that you supplied to staff last week in some shape, form, or fashion was put into use. Everything from the K9 to the body cameras to the police vehicles to the fire apparatus to the fact that we now have a multitude of paramedics and EMTs, life-saving devices, and even the sweeper truck that had to come out the next day and even that night to clear up the road from all the debris that's in a road after a major crash like that. And that's only one of multiple crashes. So it's probably, in my 32 years of service, probably one of the most well-equipped cities in the entire country. And I know sometimes that doesn't get noticed if you're just traveling down the road and you see things. I know sometimes folks will call and say, why all the sirens? And that's the reason a lot of that is, of course, anytime you run emergency traffic, you have to run the siren as well, or audible as they call it. But I don't think that gets mentioned enough to thank the citizens and the people that patronize our community, because without that support And I'd like to say that our sales tax revenue continues to be up. And I think the reason that is even though you might hear some sirens periodically and hear about some things that come into our community, they're quickly apprehended, put to a stop, and then folks feel safe enough to come back to this community and patronize our businesses. And without our business owners, we wouldn't have the conveniences we've got. So I want to thank them personally for investing literally sometimes life savings into opening a business, hoping that we'll come patronize their business. So I want it just to be a night of thank yous, to thank everybody for what you do, because it does take a multitude of people. And the 5 people up here, it starts with you, because the department heads in this city come to you and ask you for the tools. And I'll probably mention this time and time again, because it should be noted. Thank you, because you stepped up in a huge way and gave us the tools. So I don't want that to be something that just goes by the wayside and seems like such a small thing. Trust me, in 32 years, it's the best I've seen. And I'm most thankful for that. And I'm thankful for our staff and our citizens. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, sir. At this point, we'll move into the business portion of the agenda. If you're in the audience, we have agendas that are in the baskets on the side. If you're watching at home, you can follow along online. The City of Mount Juliet's website has the agendas published there as well. So with that, we'll move into unfinished business. This is Ordinance 901, an ordinance of the City of Mount Juliet to establish rules for the city commission meetings. A motion
Second.
and a second. Items on the board, on the floor. Any discussion? Commissioner Malay?
Just a question. Last meeting on first reading, I had asked to clarify if this applied to commissioners as well as citizens, and it only applies to citizens. So I'm curious, and since you mentioned that commissioners would fall under Robert's rules, and we have citizens interested in that too, could you educate us and tell us exactly where in Robert's rules, like accountability would fall, how that would work?
You know, I left my copy of Robert's Rules out in the truck.
Here you go.
So you're wanting me to read from Robert's Rules?
No, just tell us like the headline, like where it would apply. I mean, I don't want you to like read a like extensive thing, but just kind of educate us and tell us where something like that would apply.
Well, Robert's Rules is a booklet that lays out the framework for conducting a meeting. There's not one person who's responsible for the order or the control of the meeting. That's in the hands of the board. So you've got rules in here that talk about one person speaks at a time, not to address people by name. You've got rules that say address your questions through the chair. I can go through this, and of course the city attorney pointed out it's under section 43. And then it comes to sanctions. You've got options for sanctions, which include asking people to leave. You can do verbal reprimands. You can censure some people. You can remove them from board appointments. It's really up to the vote of the board as to why they want to handle these things. 43 is a summary of the procedures to indicate for ending debate, which you got 43. 43 is rules for the governing debate. It's got sections 43:1 through 43:40. I think I'll go past my time if I endeavor to read all of
No,
these.
I don't want you to read it all. Specifically, if this happens during commissioner comment time and another commissioner has already done their comment time, you get one time. So where in Robert's rules would that apply?
Well, I'm really not sure what you're driving at there, but if somebody felt they were being singled out or something, or if somebody was in violation of Robert's rules, the person should stand up and ask for a point of order.
Point of order.
Yes.
Okay.
That's standard procedure.
All right.
It's like your book back.
Thank you. That's all.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes carry with unanimous vote. Next item on the agenda is first reading of 9.2, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 19.18 acres, properly known as Chandler Road subdivision property and being found at 1076 Chandler Road, map 76, parcel 16.05, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. The item is on the floor. Vice Mayor?
Just got a couple of questions here regarding some of the numbers. And I'm sure there's a logical reason for it. Showing the proponent of the analysis, the proposal is for 35 single-family residential lots on 19.18 acres. The overall density of the variable lot subdivision shall not exceed the permitted density of the base zoning district. The proposal has a density of 1.8 units per acre. And 1.8, and I'm not sure actually, but Jim, Mr. Hamblin or Mr. Barlow one could answer this, but 1.8 per acre. I went to Mount Juliet, so I have to use a calculator, by the way.
Is this pertaining to the annexation or the next item? which is
Well, it'll be the
rezone?
next item up, but I'm looking at the analysis on it. So do you want to just wait until the next piece?
I think so. I think
Okay.
we want to vote on the annexation.
Because they got
I
the,
think
actually
if we
got the
don't
memorandum.
annex it, it won't be an issue anyway.
Okay, because they've got the memorandum and showing on, I guess it's the annexation.
Just because we saw the master plan at Planning Commission along with the rezone and annexation.
You read them both simultaneously?
Okay.
A file is created at the planning commission level and all the documents uploaded. And then the next meeting date is scheduled for the board of commissioners. So whatever is uploaded at the planning commission level is forwarded to the board of commissioners.
Such as plan of services.
And instead of doing two different staff reports, we did one for
Okay.
all
All
of
right.
them.
Well,
So
that
you're just
explains
voting on
my
the
confusion then. Thank you.
Nothing's changed in that. That's
Yeah.
since we've had this software. That's the way it's.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, it jumps out at me when I see plan of services on first reading and I'm like, well,
Okay.
I don't know
But
why
we were
that.
questioned about because it was approved at the planning commission.
Mhm. I don't know why that just recently started getting at me. I was like, this is not the way we've done it in the past. Not that it's wrong, but it's there for everyone to read. Vice Mayor, do you have anything else on the annexation?
No. At this point, I don't have anything on annexation.
All right. Any other comments, discussion on annexation? Not. All in favor of 9.2 as read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it at a unanimous vote. Next item on the agenda is 9.3, an ordinance to rezone property known as the Chandler Road subdivision, map 76, parcel 1605 from Wilson County Single Family Residential R1 to City of Mount Juliet Single Family Residential RS20. Motion second, and we're on the floor.
Now?
Yes, Vice
Okay.
Mayor.
Proposal for 35 single-family residential lots on 19.18 acres. It comes to, I think they're saying 1.8 units per acre. And in all the dealings that I've had with over the years with residential developments, you pretty much are going to take 20% out for your infrastructure. It would be roads, sewer, water. If you take 19.18 acres, you hit 20%, take that out, you're going to wind up with about 15 acres, which means you got 30 units, which is 5 over what I would assume was going to be anything other than a jam-packed piece on Chandler Road. Makes me a little nervous, honestly.
Were you able to review the plan that they
Yeah.
submitted?
Yeah, and I'm not seeing anything that makes me feel any better about it, to be honest with you, because, I mean, they're asking, I'm assuming for straight zoning, it's not a PUD, correct?
Correct.
So they're asking for straight zoning on this, it scares me to death anyway.
It's a variable
Yeah,
zoning, variable lot zoning.
yeah. And when I hear variable and then straight zoning as opposed to planned unit development, the hair on the back of my neck starts standing up, so.
Yeah, I think they're allowed, what, 2.2 per code. They're asking for 1.8. These are some long, skinny lots.
Yeah. Looks like you could fit a trailer on.
Well,
They're calling for a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet and an average lot size of 15,838.
Average is what? 15,838?
Yes, sir.
But they haven't, and I guess I've missed something, unless you've got something over there that I don't. If they got the lots laid out,
Yes, sir.
so I don't have that.
It was at your table tonight.
At the table tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there.
Got it. Okay. This is Curry right here.
It was in his box last week.
Okay.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, see, I'm looking under Access Street B, these really rectangular lots. We just had, Sam, you remember there was somebody else brought us some really rectangular lots recently.
Yes, sir. On the vendor's fair.
Yeah,
Of
exactly.
course,
And
they were 7,800 square feet.
Right.
Or less. These are at least double the size.
that's what I keep telling myself, though they look very long and narrow. These are much, I guess it's fair to say, bigger than what we normally see.
Yes, sir.
I'm just having a hard time with this. I'll let you know when time comes I'm going to vote, because as of right now, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we see a lot of these variable lot subdivisions.
This is the second one in my 20 years.
Okay, that would not be a lot then. We average one every 10 years.
Is there a reason why we don't see more?
I have no reason. I have no explanation as to why we don't.
Could we ask our engineer friend, Mr. Haddix?
Let's
Would that
see
be
if
okay?
somebody else up here's got any questions or comments
Okay.
first, and we'll get him up here and just line him up. Mr. Trevette.
Thank you. So I guess to kind of piggyback off your question, because when I was looking at this, it said the total open space was 3.3 acres, which then knocks it back down to the, to the 17.3. So, and then I guess also if you look at, the 2.88 acres on top of that. So I guess I'd be going back to either Jennifer or else Andy to try and, be able to decipher. Do we know what the common space / infrastructure is going to be?
We don't calculate density on the actual developed lots. It's the whole parameter of the development.
Okay.
So that's why you don't have it broken down on your site data table there on sheet C1.
Which is where I was looking at. I was trying to understand that. Yeah. Okay.
It's the total acreage, Commissioner Trevette.
All right. Thank you. And then, you know what? I'm gonna leave that alone. No, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Commissioner
I'm
Malay.
not even gonna bother with that.
Okay, The sidewalks on the frontage of Chandler, at one point, they were not included, but then supposedly they are. Is that, I just want to make sure that was added back in.
So the concept plan and the annexation as it went to the planning commission, we did include comments on there, public work comments. It's on packet page 24. Comment number 2 for public works says provide 6-foot wide sidewalks along Chandler Road within the right-of-way reservation and access easement. So we did include that portion
Okay.
there.
All
And
right.
they will be required along the streets internal.
Okay, good. Stormwater runoff, I always ask that. Where's it gonna run to?
Probably have the engineer for this give a little bit more detail. We haven't obviously gotten to a detailed analysis of the stormwater. Knowing that area fairly well, though, I know that at least the western portion is going to drain to the west toward Chandler Point. And so they would have a detention facility over there. I'm not certain. I think it's going to go on the east side. It's going to go to the east, I believe. But I can't remember for sure on that.
Because I want to protect the surrounding properties, because until those detention ponds are finished and the grading and all that, because there's still issues that I'm dealing with in Winfield, because all that's not finished over there yet. And the water has a mind of its own, and it just finds its own way out. So whatever has to be done on the front end, I don't want to be, I want to be proactive about it. I don't want to be hearing on the back end that so-and-so's property is flooding.
So this development would meet all of our stormwater regulations. And I'd say along with that, I know that we are looking at trying to update those and go a little bit more strict on the detention on those. So that we're meeting higher storm events. I know that we've been taking a harder look at things like the water as it's coming off the flow of the site, making sure that the velocity isn't fast so that it's not creating scour. Making sure that we're capturing enough of the volume, over detaining based on what's going off the site. So we are trying to look at those things. I would say there's some regulations there's TDEC regulations and things that we're having to work through. Some that we've had, I don't think Winfield actually was underneath that, but a lot of our more recent subdivisions are. And then the new TDEC regulations, we're going to have to basically take that and incorporate it into our stormwater standards. I'd say as we go through our stormwater utility, the very next step for us, or around that same time, is going to be a total reconstruction of our stormwater regulations.
Okay. On the west side, I do see a stub road. On the east side, I don't. Is one of those cul-de-sacs going to be a stubbed?
Yes. Yes, they both are.
Both of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would be marked as temporary.
Okay. And the next 2 questions I have would be for Joe. Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Commissioner Hefner.
The detention ponds, are those 25-year flood?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our regulations they have to meet 25, and then they have to have a foot of freeboard above that, basically a foot of what I would consider safety factor above that. In general, our ponds within Mount Juliet, we will hold the 100-year storms. So the 100-year storm, which is, a 1% chance of happening every year, seems to be fairly frequent. But so that's our regulation as it is today. I think part of the things what we want to get more stringent about, I would like to see us move to the 100, then plus a 1-foot freeboard. That way that we know that we can handle not only the 100, but the 500 that we've had 2 of in the last 10 years, 11 years. So I think it's imperative of us to make sure that we're trying to account for a little more fluctuations in some of the storm events we see.
But that was not a recommendation on this.
It's not a requirement yet. So
Requirement.
the concept plan has only gone to the planning commission. The next thing will be the actual, I would assume it would be preliminary plat and or site plan. I'm not sure. Ms. Hamlin can tell us. Preliminary plat, which will have grading associated with it.
So this is a first reading. Is there any chance we can go back to the developer and see if they would consider a 100-year?
We sure
For those?
can. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Barlow, are we including part of this annexation? Are we taking any of Chandler Radford Road in with that?
No, we are not. And that's not at this time. That's not to say that I wouldn't recommend it at some point in time in the future. Right now, so we have Normandy Heights just to the north of here. We also have Radford Farms to the south of here. And so there are some city properties in there. I think we just want to find a logical beginning and ending point for which we annex that roadway.
But having both sides of the road there for a piece, aren't we required to take that?
I may refer to the city attorney on that.
We aren't.
We aren't, so I'll take that answer.
All right.
But that would impose problems if we don't have it with sidewalks when it comes to that stretch.
Well, and so to that point, one of the things we noted was that we want the development to include the sidewalks within a right-of-way reservation so that when we do take over the right-of-way of that roadway, we can then assume that reservation as part of our right-of-way.
Very good. Let's hear from representation from the project. I'll just take it down the table, Vice Mayor, if you want, hit your questions. If you've got any, if not.
Do it. No, your paper.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Haddix, one of the things that we were talking about, size of the lots. A couple of questions. First of all, there's no elevations. So we don't know what these houses are going to look like. Whether it be tall and skinnies or short and squats or what they may be. We don't have any idea. So, but is there a reason why there were no elevations provided?
At this time, we're saying we'll just follow the city's design standards, which, as y'all know, I mean, it's hard for me to even say this. They've been tightened up so much over the years. I mean, you end up with a very nice looking home, no matter kind of what the architecture looks like, just with the materials that you're having to use. So we're not asking for a variance to the material standards. We're saying we'll follow everything to a T. In talking with staff and early on this project, it's really kind of a uniquely shaped lot, I'll say. Obviously splits both sides of the road. I feel like we've done a good job with this concept plan that's before you and is requirement of the variable lot option. So we're able to set aside some open space, some perimeter landscape areas, set the lots back off the perimeter buffer, save the natural vegetation where we can as best we can to.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the concerns that I had when I was talking a few minutes ago was the size of the lots, the size of the property. It's showing that the total proposed open space is 3.31 acres, which is 17.3%, correct? On the paper is what it's showing.
Yep.
How far off the mark was I on when I was talking about the infrastructure, roads, sewer, that kind of thing being about 20%?
Yeah. I mean, that's typical, right? When you look at it, you're 20,
Okay.
25% on
Okay.
average.
So if we're looking then at 20% of approximately 20 acres, that's what, 5 acres? Right.
Yep.
Okay. And then you've got your
4.
proposed open space is 3.3. So now we're looking at 8 acres. Is that correct? Like I said, I went to Mount Juliet, so you're going to have to verify my math for me.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Is that about right,
Yeah,
though?
you're
About 8
down to
acres?
about 16 acres. Yeah. Take out the open space.
So if I take out the 19, we got 19 acres total is what the property
Mhm.
size is?
Yep.
We take out the 8 acres, now it comes down to 11. RS 20 at that point should leave us with 22 lots.
Yeah, but your density is up based off the overall area, not, you don't back out the open space, the required open space prior to that calculation.
I see what you're saying, but that's normally something that we look at when you're talking about a planned unit development, as opposed to when you start averaging out the total space on density. That's for a planned unit development, not for straight zoning. So it looks like to me that in this, your clients would be a whole lot better off if they come in with a planned unit development as opposed to asking for straight zoning where we don't know what this is going to look like.
Well, Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, the master plan that's included, it was a voting item at planning commission, but not at this body, correct?
Correct.
So the preliminary plat would generally follow the master plan that was voted on by the planning commission.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So you have a general idea of the layout. We've committed to following the city's design standards for the homes. No variances, waivers at this time, which again, over the years have been tightened up. So you kind of know what you're getting with your new home construction. Seems like a lot of times I'm before this body asking for a variance to the materials on the homes anyway. So, with the variable lot, we're allowed to go down to the RS-15, which still is within the current medium density requirement.
Okay, I think we just got to where I was going. So you're saying with the variable lot size, and we could take it down to an RS-15, although the
One zoning classification, yes, sir.
yeah, although what we're annexing in at is RS-20, correct?
With the variable lot. So
With variable lots, which would take it down to RS-15 if needed.
correct.
Right. Okay.
Which is why the master plan component is included with the planning commission submittal. And
Okay.
again, working out with staff, if, you know,
Has anybody, and I know, like you said, we don't have any elevations, so I don't know how this is going to look, but with the lot sizes that we're seeing here, it looks it's going to be tough to get in any, I don't know how you would set up side entry. It's going to be a rough one. So I guess has that even been looked at? Or are these homes going to be with garages in the front? Yeah, we're talking shared
Right.
driveways. What are we talking about here?
could be shared driveways. Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay.
1 second.
It's me an HOA.
There is no HOA straight zoning.
Are you complete, Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir. I think I've convinced myself.
Okay.
So for comparison, those lots are averaging 85 feet wide. I think the scale of this plan sheet is a little deceiving. I mean, at an 80-foot wide lot, you've recently approved some projects that 75 was the minimum for side or rear entry. So
Commissioner Trevette?
So you just stated that the smallest lot's gonna be 85 feet, the smallest? Or is that the average?
if I am on the east side, Access Street A, appears lots 12 through 19 are about as narrow as we were looking. Those lots are
55 feet? Is that what I'm seeing or no?
based on what I'm scaling on my plan. The 55 would be your right of way. And then the lot width itself is 80 to 85 feet wide lot.
And how many are you thinking that's gonna be shared driveway? Are all these gonna be shared driveways?
At 85 foot wide, you can do a side entry or rear loaded.
But how many do you think that's gonna be a shared driveway?
None,
None?
zero.
Okay.
Yeah, at that lot width, shouldn't have any problem doing a side entry.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, I just got a comment. I mean, look, we just went through something similar with a project planning commission, cane break. We met all of the regulations. I will say this, it sounds like we need to shore up variable lot size developments. Sounds like there's an opportunity there to maybe correct something that's been overlooked. But it sounds like we're meeting all the guidelines. So unless I'm hearing something different or missed it, I don't know. You can't ask them to bring it in as, I guess you can ask them to bring it in as a PUD, but they're not obligated to.
Let's
So
speak
it-
on
No,
it.
that's all.
If I could, just, I'm sorry. I can wait. Sorry. Mayor.
Did you have any more questions, Mr. Hafner?
No.
All right, we'll catch Commissioner Malay.
Okay, curious why your reasons for not bringing in as a PUD is what exactly?
Well, I think with this plan, and it's a good question. You know, with this particular plan, we provided all the aspects of that you typically get with PUD, right? You got a concept plan that was voted on, had a traffic study even for the 35 lots. We're showing right-of-way dedication. You know, we flushed out all the issues. I think maybe if it's down to architecture, we could certainly add some concept imagery that we would commit to. You know, products that very similar to what you've seen and approved.
And would the lots, of course, be smaller, I'm assuming, in a PUD versus this? Because the size of the lots
You
don't.
could with a PUD, you're also bringing in a requirement for improved open space.
Mhm.
You know, now you're setting that improved open space area requirement with the PUD,
If you brought it in as a PUD, would you ask for variances?
more than likely. I mean,
Whereas now you're not? What's the price range?
that I don't know.
Don't know.
I can find that information and have it for you on second reading.
You had mentioned at the guest planning meeting that you would be willing to do an HOA.
I think that was the property owner I mentioned.
Property owner. Is there, because there wasn't anything, set in stone on it. Do you, like, when would we know that decision?
I can have it for you in 2 weeks.
All right. If you did an HOA, I can't require it because it's not a PUD, but would he be willing to do a 10% cap on overall of rentals? Along with the two, no one person can own more than 2 units, and do an entire 10% cap?
I think that's a fair request, and I will take it to my client.
Okay. That was all my questions.
I guess my question is, without the HOA, who maintains the detention ponds going forward? Who's going to maintain the mail kiosk? It also just strikes me, and I know it's only 33 units, but we got one mail kiosk, and the folks on the east side have to cross Chandler Radford Road just to get their mail. I mean, I know it's not, y'all didn't pick that. I mean, it's being dictated to you by the Postal Service, but it's something to consider. So who's going to maintain this, I guess is my question.
I think valid point. I mean, I think you also have this perimeter buffer strip that will need some sort of maintenance also. So I believe HOA would be the best option for that.
Okay. Vice Mayor, any more questions?
Yes, sir. And I'm wondering about legality here. Where Commissioner Malay was going is actually a good start where I wanted to go as well, because we have common area that has to be maintained. We got border. It's going to have to be maintained. You got the kiosk, 10% cap on rentals. We can't do that because how do we put this into an ordinance when there's no no PUD request. There is no ordinance that we can get. Mr. Marquetti, can you help us out? I mean, would we be better served to ask them to bring us in with a planned unit development?
You can still have an HOA.
How is that codified? How do we do that?
Just make it part of the conditions.
Wouldn't there have to be a deed restriction at that point for the entire piece of property? Because
It would either be a deed restriction or on the plat for the approval, put it there. That worked for you?
There's
Jennifer?
actually, Wintry Trace is a straight zone subdivision, and there's 5 lots over there that have an HOA to take care of the stormwater detention area.
do they even know it?
They do.
Okay. Just curious.
They do. So I think it would be very similar to that.
Mhm.
It's
That's first reading.
good point. It's first reading. We can get the answers to all these questions probably on second reading. I'm going to be voting against it anyway. So
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Trevette? Thank you. Commissioner Hefner? Commissioner Malay?
I was just saying, I'm not completely sold on it, but I'm going to vote to pass it at first reading because, like you said, there's a lot that can happen between now and then.
At least a month. All right. We've heard from representation. Any other questions, just general about the project? Any amendments, ordinances, changes, debates? You ready to vote then? All right. All in favor of the project as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
All right. The ayes carry that with a 3-2. I think I did hear a clear, it passed. I think I did hear a clear message that we need some suggestions when it comes around for second reading. Next item on the agenda is 9.4, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 87.72 acres property known as the Curd Road subdivision property and being found at 2844 Curd Road, map 54, parcel 81 and 82.02, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Have a motion and a second. The item is on the floor. Any discussion on the annexation? All right, all in favor of 9.4 as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. It carries unanimously. Next item is 9.5, an ordinance to rezone to single-family residential RS15 PUD planned unit development and adopt the preliminary master development plan for the Curd Road subdivision being located at 2844 Curd Road, map 54, parcel 73, parcel 81, and 82.02 in the city of Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Tennessee.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. The item is on the floor for discussion. Commissioner Malay?
Quick question for Andy. On the Beckwith Road, I know that's up to the county. How soon would we know that? How long does it take for them to make a decision?
Approval for the connection to Beckwith Road. Using a pretty recent example with Kelsey Glen, for instance, Kelsey Glen connected to John Wright Road. And so they were required to do that. That was actually approved with the construction plans with that phase. It's actually been a few years ago when it was approved. And so that went through the process, obviously, with construction this past year. And so it would go with that construction. I would imagine probably a second phase of this development. So whenever the construction plans go through our office for review and approval, immediately thereafter, around the same time frame, they'd be going through the county office for review and approval. I could probably tell you that based on previous developments, a left turn lane and a right turn lane are probably going to be the requirement. That's just a guess.
Because I know the southbound right turn was included in that, but of course that's up to the county. And then I had asked about the northbound left turn,
Mhm.
and there was nothing official about that. And so I would like that added in for them to consider.
I think that's a worthwhile consideration. At least we could let the county know our considerations for it.
Okay. That was all.
Vice Mayor?
Actually, you're talking about Beckwith Road, right? Okay. We had talked about that when I was talking to the developer, and one of the things that there was some uncertainty involved because it's county regulated rather than city regulated. All we can do is make suggestions. It also falls under that Bradshaw Farms. All that was taken into consideration with Bradshaw Farms as well. So now you've got two particular developments that are on the hook for the same piece, with no way for us to say which one's going to pay for what. So with what we've been able to work out with the developer on this one, I would respectfully ask if we could to not put that particular piece on there. They've asked not to be considered in that since another development's already been in there, and it would create some commotion in their plan as they take it back to the board for considering as to what our requests are. So we've got the items, matter of fact, to be removed. I think that are on. Has everybody seen that? And that was actually on there to be removed. That's the reason I'm asking that. So the Lebanon Road widening, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Barlow, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was actually with the left-hand turn lane coming off of Lebanon Road onto Beckwith Road is where we were talking about the Lebanon Road widening.
That's right. Yes. Mhm.
The westbound right turn lane onto Bender's Ferry was shown to be removed, but we're not talking about removing it. We're talking about leaving it in there, but they would participate as far as the financial, the monetary, correct?
My recommendation, project in lieu of financial, but that would be up to y'all.
Okay. And obviously sidewalks on Beckwith Road to Lebanon Road, when we tried this here a few years back over in Stewart's, it was across from Stewart's Ferry Pike, because it's in the county, they don't have any way, they can't go by our standards for sidewalks, and they don't have anybody to monitor it, and it's outside the city limits, so we don't have any jurisdiction. So we kind of got slapped on that one going out South Mount Juliet Road several years ago. The proposal that we sent up here shows the total number of homes being 218, with the total developer contribution being $5,533 per lot. And the amount comes to $1,206,000. And what I would ask at this is that we cap that so that the developer knows their contribution and knows exactly what it is. And what I would like to do also, Ms. Marchetti, is ask that we put this in as an amendment that we cap it at $1,206,000, and that the developer and Mr. Barlow and Ms. Hamblin work together to figure out which ones are going to be done by the developer and which projects are going to be just paid for by the developer, rather than us sitting up here and going through this all night. Is that something we can do?
Why are we capping?
So that they actually have an
They
amount.
requested this? Or?
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, actually, $5,533 per lot is more money than anybody has ever put in on any lot in the history of Mount Juliet. It includes the bathrooms for our park. It includes the road to our park. It includes the parking lot for our park. It includes the sidewalks on Curd Road. It includes the right-hand turn lane off of Lebanon Road onto Bender's Ferry Road. It includes $150,000 onto actually it'd be eastbound Lebanon Road turn lane onto Golden Bear. So did I miss anything? That also includes, well, right now I'm just talking about the amount of the contribution. It's $1,206,250. And I'd like to put a cap on there so they know what their numbers are, as opposed to us coming back and throwing something else at them. I mean, if it needs to be more than that, then we need to decide that tonight so they know what they're working with anyway, for budgeting purposes.
I'm just uncomfortable putting a cap on a developer. I mean, they need to do what they need to do. And if it's $2 million or $1.3 million or $1.8 million, then that's what it needs to be. I just never heard us putting a cap on
Actually, we have put caps on
contributions.
before on contributions. I can't imagine we would ask for any more.
I don't know.
So, Ms. Barlow, any weigh in on this?
I don't recall any caps that we've done in the past.
I think we discussed one with the sewer project for Windtree, but I don't believe that passed.
No, there is a cap actually. Anytime that we say, okay, you're going to pay $2,500 per lot, and we don't specify projects, then we're putting a cap on it. Is that not correct?
Voluntary contribution.
Correct.
From those individuals.
Right, and that's what this is, the voluntary contribution of $5,533 per lot. So I mean, anytime we say $2,500 is going to be your contribution, then that is the cap, isn't it?
Very rarely.
It's supposed to be a cap. I mean, they don't pay more, do they?
Let's hear from, I think Commissioner Trevette had some questions.
So I just want to comment, just make sure, Andy, like you've actually seen cost of material for our projects within the city going up. What's the percentage are you seeing currently right now, ballpark?
20% to double.
Okay, that's my concern with us doing a cap, because if these are going to be our city parks and this is going to be the end project for the developer, if they decide to delay any part of this project, that could either shortchange the park from I guess the best quality, or else it could potentially cost the city, for any other, shortchanging that this contractor or developer could be doing. So I don't see a cap being beneficial for the city at this time. So that's my concern there, especially with you're saying between 20 to 50% increase of material. And I don't see that number going down anytime soon. The only other question I have is obviously, with this community, with this size, this will be a city park. Is it going to be identified that as that with the existing homes, I guess, because it's going to be a benefit to the 271 homes, I think it is. I'm sorry, how many? Okay, so 218. So obviously it's going to be more beneficial for that development, and it could be, a little confused that it could be part of their, their common space. So I just want to make sure that, that we don't obviously support any caps for the city parks there. So that's why I'm there.
Do you have something, Commissioner Everett?
Thank you, Mayor. I know this is first reading. I'm going to support it to the second reading, but I know and thank you, Vice Mayor, for running the numbers on that. I respectfully disagree. My recollection of some of the conversations we had on the land acquisition, that some of those improvements were going to be made as part of the acquisition of the park. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm sorry, just Commissioner Hefner is correct. And reason it's in my mind, I was just dealing with their attorneys today on some of those same terms. So yes, they agreed to do certain things as part of the purchase agreement, separate and apart from any development.
Thank you. So I would ask, by the second reading, that we see what the numbers look like as far as per lot contributions, backing out the improvements that are going to be made to the park, the road, the bathrooms. See what those numbers look like. If you have the numbers, you can run through it so we can get it on record, so we can have that. I don't think the delta is very, very much, but
The numbers submitted to us was $830,000 for the road to the park, the parking lot and the bathrooms.
Okay.
So out of the 1.2 plus million, that's the large chunk of it.
So that leaves how much for the offsite improvements? The roads?
Around $400,000.
Okay. So what's 2,500 at 218 lots? Run the numbers for me. Sorry.
545,000.
Okay. So we're not far. We're not far. So, so I'd like that to be, I'd like those numbers to be reworked for the second reading.
Okay.
Vice Mayor,
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Barlow,
Yes, sir.
if they decide that they do not want to buy this property now, they decide that this is just not something they're going to fool with, who pays for the road to the park?
That would be the city's responsibility.
Okay, and who pays for the bathrooms?
Be ours.
So the taxpayers basically is what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and who pays for the parking lot?
Same.
Okay, so that 800 and some odd $1,000 would come out of the taxpayers' pockets if they decided not to buy the park, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So how do we back those numbers out when they're actually in the contribution? This was all part and parcel. Now, they may have put this in the purchase and sale agreement, Ms. Marquetti, I think is what you're saying, correct? And if they put that in the purchase and sale agreement, I'll be honest with you, I think it's kind of stupid for them to do that. But if they did do that, then we've got them if it goes through. But if they decide, yeah, we're just not going to do this, then the taxpayers are on the hook for the bathrooms. So, you know, we're going to wind up having to get this stuff done regardless. So it's part of the contribution.
anything else?
Oh, there's a lot more, but I'll leave it to second reading.
Commissioner Malay?
Yeah, I agree. These volunteer contributions are fantastic. Just to clarify, Vice Mayor, you mentioned Bradford Farms, which is further south, so I'm not sure. Bradshaw, sorry, Bradshaw Farms, and the improvements for the county, but that's further south, right? It's not the same entrance, isn't it, further south? Yeah, so I'm not sure that connection
Do you have it?
well, I just wanted to clarify because it sounded like it was they're going to be doing, okay, so the argument was going to be who's going to pay for it, but they're two separate entrances, so I'm not sure how that connects.
Yeah. I'll get you, I got Commissioner Hefner next.
Mayor, I hear what the vice mayor's saying, but I voted for that park on the information that was provided at the time that we voted on that, for the city to acquire that parkland. And that was based on the improvements. If we sold to Beazer, those improvements would be included. So that's the reason why I voted for that park. It's because of the contributions that were going to be made. I mean, it was a significant reason. I mean, for all the reasons that you stated, but that was part of the sale of the land to Beazer. This development is, in my opinion, is separate from. Otherwise, we might as well look at the sales price of the land and maybe revisit that. But I passed it, proved that the city go forward with it based on the information that I was given at the time, and that was Beazer Homes was going to put in the bathrooms, the sidewalks, the drive. So that was pretty compelling for me. So I think it should not be included as a contribution.
Let's hear from the Vice Mayor.
Commissioner, where you're talking about is not coming off of, coming out of the property onto Beckwith Road is further south for the Bradshaw Farms. What we're talking about, though, is the conditions for the Lebanon Road project that was part of the Bradshaw Farms PUD. So it was not, that section on Beckwith Road itself was not taken into consideration. And when we were talking about the widening and the red light and the right of ways, things of that nature at the intersection of Lebanon Road and Beckwith Road, that's the part that what we were just talking about on there. That's the part that's already been considered. So, and it's already been put in there that they are on the hook for that if there is a warrant from the state that mandates that happen. So, I mean, if there's if the state says it's got to happen, then it's got to happen. And according to the PUD, which I think Mr. Marchetti told us at that time, we can't mandate anything that is not within our jurisdiction, which is not be inside the city limits. That intersection is not inside the city limits. All we can do is sit up here and make suggestions. Is that pretty accurate? So anything we did at this point would be nothing but a suggestion, and it's on record that we've documented that we are urging this happen with the Bradshaw Farms part, and just not making them be responsible for that section, since we've already got somebody who is responsible if it were to happen that a warrant's required.
Did you have anything?
Not until second reading.
All right, then I'm going to recognize Commissioner Malay then.
Yeah, I was only asking about the southbound right turn and the northbound left turn into the park was the only thing I was asking about.
Yeah.
That part, what?
Being done by the developer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I had stated that once we get to the construction phase and then y'all go to the county, if
Correct.
both of them could be.
Right. And I believe
request.
y'all were talking about two different
No,
conditions.
that was
and
all I
so,
was
Yeah.
wanting to
So we
know.
captured that in condition number 7. That's here in the PUD, the Beckwith Road improvements at the access. And so that's the one that we were talking about. And I think that's where we would recommend a consideration for the appropriate turn lanes
Yeah.
there.
That's
and then
just right
number-
there at the entrance point
Right.
was my only
And then I
concern.
think Vice Mayor was talking about the condition number 8, which is at Beckwith Road and Lebanon Road. So
Yeah.
I think we're all good on that.
Okay.
All right, any other comments or questions? Do we want to hear from representation? All right, I got one. Name and address for the record, please.
Yep. Will Smith, Beezer Homes, 501 Corporate Center Drive, Franklin, Tennessee. What I would say up front is that, we built in Mount Juliet for some time now. And of course, I've heard the comments tonight, and we'll work with staff and with you guys over the next month to make sure that the numbers are right and that, we can come back and that being a little bit more clear on second reading. So we are committed not only to the project, but the community as well. I forget which commissioner asked about the parkland being a true park. It will be the restrooms and the parking lot and that type. Once we're finished with that will be dedicated back to the city, the land, the parking lot, the whole deal, and being accepted. So that will be part of the park itself that's left. So just to make sure it's not just we haven't counted any of that towards our open space or anything. We have our own open space, and I believe we're well above that of what we need for the PUD. So,
All right. Any of the board members have any questions for our city attorney?
Not a question, just say, since this changed so much, it's going back to the planning commission for reading on October 21st. So this will need to be second reading in October.
I have the
For this reading.
25th for second reading
Yeah.
and planning commission on 21st.
Correct.
So for anybody following this project online or here in the audience, that's the path, assuming it passes tonight on first reading, since it was deferred at the last reading of this. So this is actually first reading of it. Are there any other questions or comments? I got the vice mayor wishes to be recognized.
Mr. Smith, when you and I talked last, you had asked that if we could to put a cap, a limit at that 1,206,000. Can you explain that so that?
Yeah. From our budgetary standpoint, when we put together a project and have it approved, that's a line item. Each one of these conditions is a line item, whether it be the voluntary fee or if it's road widening or, that type of thing. Of course, when we do the projects, it takes a little bit more to ensure that the right of way is there and it can actually, physically be done. But it's more of a budgetary thing for us. I completely get where you're coming from of, cost increases and those types of things. I think from our standpoint on the front end, obviously our budgets they're not set in, they're set in stone at the beginning, but that doesn't mean there's not a contingency that we have that would allow that to go up as we move through the project. We expect those to go up to a certain point. We hope home prices continue to increase the way that they have so that we can cover those costs. And y'all have done a great job here in the city with architecture and these types of meetings to ensure that those prices go up. So, on the front end, I think it's just making sure that we keep that $1.2 million number in our head, and that included the park when we were kind of looking through that, because that is a budgetary item for us. So whether it be included here or in another budget or whatever it may be, I think we can be amenable to making sure that we hit the fees that we need to hit for you guys. And so as I've told you, Vice Mayor, that y'all don't have an impact fee. Wilson County does. You guys don't, unfortunately. So it's our responsibility to take some of the burden, and we will. So,
Commissioner Trevette.
Well, first of all, thank you for being up here tonight. Obviously, this project is part of your job. You want to get it done. So, and while you were up here, I wasn't for sure if this would be directed toward you or to our city attorney, but I guess my whole concern is with the cap. Obviously, that you guys have submitted some submittals to the Planning Commission on the design of these bathrooms and the way everything is going to be. Is that correct? Is that my understanding first?
we have a guidance of what those will look like. We have an idea of what the parking lot will be, but when final design will come with FMDP. But we have some pretty good guidance from staff on what those need to look like. So, yeah.
Okay. And I guess that this would then go back to the contribution side of things. If this has already been basically signed off that this project has to complete, let's just say all 6 items. I'm just going to use that number out there. There has nothing to do with with what is in and not in contract. This is just more of a contribution that they are going to complete these items. Is that correct? Is that how I'm reading this?
The contract requires them to complete certain items. It's part of the purchase price. It's so many dollars per acre plus doing other work. So it's a purchase price is what has been negotiated and agreed to. Now they still have due diligence time. They can back out if they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's another several months before that deadline hits, and they can back out and forfeit their earnest money, which isn't very much. And then you
Okay.
sell it to somebody else.
Well, I think if I do understand this correctly, I believe this board, I'm not going to speak for the board, but I will mirror what Commissioner Hefner did state, which was this price was in negotiation with these additional upgrades. Is that correct? So it was a package
Correct.
a package product. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. That was kind of why I'm having a hard time with the cap, because of the fact of, again, cost of material is going up. We see it. And this was obviously, you got this land at a really good price compared to if this was just a flat buyout piece of land compared to anything else out there. So just want to make sure that was out there. So just wanted to let you know my thought behind the whole process, since now you're up to the podium, on why I don't agree with the cap. So thank you for being here.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, ready to vote? All right, all in favor of this item as presented, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? I believe the ayes have the vote unanimously. At this point, we'll move into the new business portion of the agenda. We have two ordinances on first reading and two resolutions. The first being 11-1, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2021-22 budget ordinance 2021-19 to accept a donation from Wilson Bank and Trust for the purchase and installation of a new scoreboard at Charlie Daniels Park. Motion and a second, and our city manager is asking for the floor.
Mayor, I'd like to thank Wilson Bank and Trust without hesitation. When the Tennessee Heat took over that program and we're having their home games and all there, the scoreboard that was there years ago, I think one of the storms had gotten in the past. I just want to thank them for stepping up. Basically, what this is a contribution to the city, and then we in turn pay the vendor who put the scoreboard up, and also the electrician. So there's no cost to the city.
Perfect. Vice Mayor.
I'm very familiar with this process. Are they getting an advertising banner on the sign on the scoreboard?
I think that if I recall correctly, I haven't seen the scoreboard since it went up, but I believe it does have supposed to have their name on it. If the vinyl hadn't been added, I would think it would be by the sign vendor.
Since this is a city project, were there other banks that were approached to possibly fund this, or?
Just Wilson Bank. They've always done that, for example, for all the signs for the schools and things of that nature in the parks. Matter of fact, they did the sign that's at Mundy Park as well at the entrance.
Okay.
It's just been a common thing that
But,
they've supported. I think other banks have been approached in the past, but we've never had any takers.
But I think to the Vice Mayor's point, we would entertain someone who wants to sponsor a Jumbotron.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Vice Mayor and Commissioners, absolutely. If there's a bank out there listening that wants to step up, there's always a need, especially in our parks and for other things. And this just happened to be just an ask at the time, and it was without hesitation. But Vice Mayor, it's a great question. We have asked before, and unfortunately, there were some that just weren't in a position to do that. And Wilson Bank's always been good about that. But yes, we would take other offers.
Jumbotron.
Jumbotron.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Carries unanimously. And the next item on the agenda is 11-2, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2021-22 budget, ordinance 2021-19 to appropriate funds for construction contract for the Cedar Creek Interceptor Sewer upsizing project. A motion and a second. The item's on the floor. I'll just note this needs a fiscal note attached to it per city ordinance, and I'm content to wait to second reading for that. But any other comments or discussion on this? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Passes unanimous. Last two items are resolutions. A resolution of the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners protecting the rights of the city of Mount Juliet employees against unconstitutional mandates. We have a motion and second. The item's on the floor. Any discussion on this? Commissioner Malay?
I just want to thank you, Mayor, for bringing this forward. And I did not know it was going to be on the agenda until it came out, but I asked if I could be a co-sponsor on it, and he said yes. So thank you for that. So I am a co-sponsor, so I fully support this. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? All right. All in favor of the item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Quick, I point just to.
Yes, sir. Point of clarification.
I wouldn't laugh at what you were saying. It just dawned on me that one of the whereases on here, politicians are the last people on earth someone should seek medical advice from.
I did write that.
It just struck me so I apologize. I didn't mean to laugh out loud, but that, and you might want to do an amendment on that to say unless that politician's a doctor, but
Well,
just.
good point. I do know a few that do practice medicine,
Yeah.
but we'll refer to the whereas above that, which says seek a professional medical.
Great.
All right. Next item, 11-4, and a resolution declaring the City of Mount Juliet Police Department property as surplus to be disposed of at Gov Deals auctions. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And last item on the agenda is item number 12, adjournment. If there's no objections, we will stand adjourned.